Chapter 4 explores Kars, a crossroad of Armenian destiny, focusing on the period from the early Middle Ages to the 1920 Treaty of Alexandropol. During a secret briefing, James and Anna learned that Kars was a vital trade hub on the historic Silk Road, connecting Anatolia, the South Caucasus, and Persia. Control frequently shifted between Armenian, Georgian, and Byzantine powers. The first Armenian references to Kars date to around 800 CE. The Chronicle of Hovhannes Strashkanakurtsi describes it as a fortified town loved by forefathers, highlighting its early importance. The Kars fortress was constructed in the 9th century, featuring stone curtain walls, towers, an inner citadel, and Armenian stone carving motifs. This strategic structure also contained many secret passages. The 9th century Serb Karakash Church, with its distinct Armenian stylistic lineage and frescoes, is a vital historical structure that highlights the Armenian religious life in Kars. Kars was an extremely vital economic hub on the Silk Road, linking Anatolia, the Caucasus, and Persia. It saw significant trade volume in goods like silk, wool, and timber, with markets comparable to those in Ani and Vin. By 950, the estimated population of Kars was 12,000 to 15,000. Armenians constituted about 60%, Georgians about 25%, and the remaining 15% was Muslim. Kars emerged as a major cultural center circa 800 CE, central to the Bagratid dynasty's regional power. The strategic Kars fortress was built in the 9th century, during a period when Armenian religious life flourished. The Seljuk invasion of Kars began in 1064, resulting in the capture of the fortress. The subsequent decade saw the destruction of many churches and significant demographic shifts for Armenians after 1074. In the early period, Kars became a multicultural Armenian enclave, where Armenian political, religious, and mercantile life took root. This established Kars as a major regional cultural center for centuries. The Ottoman Empire formally incorporated Kars in 1579, marking the start of direct Ottoman administration. The city became the center of the strategic Kars Eyalet, which significantly reduced local Armenian self-government. During the Ottoman period, the Muslim population share increased from 20% to 45% by 1900, with significant growth in Turkish and Kurdish populations. Armenian self-government was notably reduced after 1579. Armenian cultural life persisted despite Ottoman control. Institutions like the 1860 St. Grigor Lusavorich School and the 1884 Kars newspaper, Hake Kars, fostered Armenian identity and resilience. The Hamidian massacres between 1894 and 1896 targeted Armenian communities. Thousands were killed near Kars, with Ottoman authorities ordering the destruction of 12 villages, intensifying ethnic tensions. The Young Turk Revolution in 1908 initially promised political equality, but quickly intensified the policy of Turkification. In Kars, Armenian political societies began to reorganize themselves. The Balkan Wars created a major refugee crisis, causing an influx of Muslim refugees into Kars. This spillover heightened ethnic tensions in the region. Kars became a revolutionary hotbed, attracting Armenian activists who later joined Bolshevik circles. They used clandestine printing presses, making Kars a center for spreading revolutionary ideas. During World War I, Kars became a critical strategic objective on the Russian-Ottoman front. The Russian Caucasus Army heavily focused on the city, as control of Kars was vital for the entire Caucasus region. About 12,000 Armenian volunteers, primarily from the Kars district, joined the Russian army in World War I. They provided significant military assistance, especially through reconnaissance and artillery support. The 1915 genocide directly affected Armenian families in Kars. Ottoman telegrams ordered immediate deportations, intensifying severe ethnic cleansing and leading to huge subsequent demographic and political shifts. Russian troops successfully occupied Kars starting in December 1915. During this occupation, Armenian civil administration was temporarily restored. Following the collapse of the Russian Empire, the Kars Republic Provisional Council was formed in 1917. The council included Armenian, Georgian, and Russian representatives operating under a 12-article charter. Bolshevik figures like Zorin and Terhovanesyan were active in Kars, attempting to align national aspirations with Soviet political goals and influence the region. The 1917 collapse of the Russian Empire created a power vacuum in Kars. The imperial army's disintegration weakened defenses, forcing Armenian militias to scramble to organize a defense, leading to major instability. During World War I, Entente powers secretly promised Armenian autonomy in exchange for cooperation against the Ottomans. A secret memorandum outlined this plan, highlighting early imperial interest in the region. At the 1919 Paris Peace Conference, the Armenian delegation demanded Kars be returned to the new republic. Their memorandum outlined claims for the entire Kars territory, emphasizing international interests in the area. British Foreign Office engaged in secret backdoor diplomacy with Mustafa Kemal, aiming to establish a neutral Kars zone. Declassified telegrams from June 1919 detail these talks, highlighting early outside imperial interest. Mustafa Kemal's nationalist movement aimed to create a Turkish corridor, strongly opposing the Armenian Republic. His early raids focused on eastern Anatolia near Kars to solidify Turkish control. This map illustrates the Armenian-Turkish front between 1919 and 1920, showing Armenian defensive lines and Turkish offensive thrusts in the Kars-Sarıkamış sector. Kemalist rebels included irregular forces, ex-Ottoman officers, and significant Kurdish militias. These forces coordinated, sometimes with British intelligence, to fight the Armenian Republic. The May 29, 1920 Kemalist attack, described by an eyewitness nurse, focused heavily on the Armenian quarter. This offensive marked a major escalation in the larger Kemalist movement. Armenian forces had significantly fewer troops, being outnumbered by Turkish forces by more than 2 to 1. This led to the rapid collapse of the Armenian military defense, with many troops deserting their posts. The fall of Kars occurred on October 30, 1920, as Turkish forces overwhelmed the Armenian defense. The Turkish flag was raised over the citadel, forcing thousands of Armenian civilians to flee across the new border. The conflict displaced 30,000 Armenian citizens, with 7,000 people killed or missing. The new border immediately created a refugee crisis, leading to huge demographic and political shifts. The Soviet reaction, evidenced by Lenin's letter, forcefully opposed Turkish aggression and urged immediate support for Armenian comrades. Moscow aimed to prevent total Turkish domination of the region. The Treaty of Alexandropol was signed at the railway station, following a decisive Turkish military victory. No official Armenian representatives were present at the signing, which shortly followed the fall of Kars. The treaty ceded Kars, Ardahan, and Surmalu to Turkey, recognizing Turkish sovereignty over the Kars-Erzurum corridor. It was signed after the Turkish victory and included no provisions for Armenian refugees. The treaty signing at Alexandropol railway station followed the fall of Kars and a Turkish military victory. Armenian representatives were officially absent from these crucial negotiations. The new border immediately created a crisis, displacing 30,000 Armenian citizens with 7,000 killed or missing. Displaced Armenian villages fell under Turkish administration. The British and French press strongly condemned the treaty, describing it as a betrayal. International opinion showed deep concern, viewing the agreement as ignoring Allied promises to the Armenians. British public statements often contradicted their private actions regarding the situation. The situation in Anatolia was rapidly deteriorating, and Turkish nationalist forces were gaining popular support, while the British public was against continued involvement. The Treaty of Kars solidified Turkish control over the region, turning Kars into a major strategic military base for Ankara. The 1921 Treaty of Moscow further reinforced Turkish sovereignty, shaping the long-term regional power balance. The memory of Kars continues to shape Armenian national identity, symbolizing a significant historical loss. Annual Day of Kars observances are held, and a commemorative plaque was dedicated in Yerevan in 1992. The memory of Kars significantly shapes Armenian national identity. Annual observances are held throughout Armenia, and the city symbolizes a major historical loss. A commemorative plaque was dedicated in Yerevan in 1992. Kars is a crucible of Armenian aspirations and imperial ambitions, with its layered history dramatically shaping regional politics. The city remains central to modern Armenian national identity, representing a place where nations collided.